Hello, welcome. It's always a pleasure to be here with you all together, learning and sharing. So today's topic is what happened, meaning that in marriage, relationship, men and women, why is it so terrible today? What has happened? How did all this begin? And the most important question is, whose fault is it? That's the bottom line. Whose fault that we are in the situation we are today, that we don't have successful marriage or relationship or even being a decent human being? Whose fault? Well, to understand that, many says it's the men and many will say it's the women. Men will say it's the women fault, can't be women, can't be good women, modest, all that stuff they say. And others will say it's the man who's not doing their part, being the man they're supposed to be. And of course, the definition is so twisted when it comes to what the role is for the men and for the women. And that's the big problem, because that'll be another video. But again, because there is a misunderstanding, and the first thing we need to understand, we need to look at who is responsible for why it looks the way it looks today. And to show you, let's go to the beginning. Where did all this take place? This took place, unfortunately, in the garden. Adam and Eve. I will say it again. This is the beginning. If you look at anything that goes wrong, it has a starting point. And if no one addresses it to fix it, it just deteriorates and gets worse and worse and worse. And everybody's put their head into the ground, acting like it's not their fault, or they're blaming, pointing at some or the other, saying he's responsible, she's responsible. And the truth is, I'm going to show you, you're going to be surprised. The bottom line is, the person that is responsible was Adam. I will say it again. Man was responsible. God created man first. And what did he do? God had a contract, an agreement with man. He says, I'm creating you. This is the commandment. This is what I want you to do. And the one rule God gave Adam, the contract was between Adam, God and Adam. He said, do not eat from this tree. If you do, you will die. Now, God never spoke to Eve. Then Eve came along. So, what was supposed to take place? This is the problem. Adam, mad of or not, told Eve not to eat from this tree. Well, Eve knew of it as well, because she says she knew. So therefore, Adam told her, because it was transmitted from Adam to Eve. Now, Eve, of course, we all understand, she ate and then things fell apart. But the problem is, where did it really fall apart? Did it fall apart when Eve ate? No. When Eve ate the fruit, nothing happened. God did not come out and say, Eve, why did you eat from this forbidden tree that I forbid you? Because you know why? The contract was not between God and Eve. So in a way, Eve was innocent to a certain degree, because there's things you're allowed to do and there are things not recommended, and there are things you should not do at all. Okay? Because something may be recommended doesn't mean you should do it. So therefore, God did not say anything when Eve ate. When it all fell apart is when Adam ate. So the question is, it's not a matter that, Eve cried until Adam ate, because Eve realized that she was going to die and Adam would continue to live, and God would give him a new wife, which I understand as well. But the point is, this is the point. Adam, he had a contract between God and him. And what did he do? He fell in his contract, in the commandment, to uphold the agreement he had between God. Had Adam kept that contract, we would not be where we are today. None of us would be here. We all would be in paradise. But so what is the point? How do we connect this with today? Have you noticed, I've been paying a lot of attention, and I'm wondering, I look at a lot of men, and most men, I've noticed, became the women, and the women became the men. in the household. And I will show you where did we see this too? In Egypt. In Egypt, Pharaoh gave the men to do the women work, and the women do the men's work. I will say it again. In Egypt, Pharaoh, which is king, made the men do the women's work and the women do the men's work. Guess what? That's what I'm seeing today. The roles today have reversed. Look how it is. I've seen a lot of men who pretending or acting or doing the role of the woman, and the woman is doing the role of the man. And now you're wondering why things have fallen, deteriorated. Why? Anytime you decide to do things your way, it will never ever goes right. Because why? God gave command. He gave men a role, duties, and responsibility. A woman a role, duty, and responsibility. And because we know better than God, most of us have ego. Because you say, I don't believe that, I don't care, I don't want to hear. That's your ego speaking. But guess what? I'm going to ask you right now. Are you happy where you are? Because your ego got you where you are. I will say it again. Whether you're happy or not, or you're single, you're alone, and in the biggest and the foolish and the stupid thing people could say, I choose to be alone. You didn't choose to be alone. You just could not find somebody that fits what you wanted to be. You didn't choose. You just did not find it, because why? God says you're not going to find that person because your ego. So therefore, I'm not going to make that person available. But again, what you have to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, because we decided that we want to do things our way, therefore God is not going to let it happen. It's not going to happen your way. It's not going to be your way. It says make your will becomes God's will, then God will make his will, your will, his will. Okay? So before you have to, meaning that first you have to line yourself up with God first, then God will line himself up with you. Until then, you are enemy. You are enemy, and it's not going to happen. So where are we now in terms of this relationship? Now, again, I don't have to convince any of you. You see what it looks like, what men looks like, what women look like. It's horrible. It's terrible. It's just unbelievable. And everyone is wondering why men are not men and why women are not women. Well, there you go. Because why? The men are doing the women's job and the women are doing the men's job. That's why you're saying that. Because why? We took that from Egypt and we carried it on till today. And there's nothing new under the sun. There's many reasons why it's saying that. Is that meaning that it's been done before? You're not doing anything new. It has been done before. So therefore, in order for us to change, the men and the women need to change the role again. You need to go back to the original plan that God designed for men and women. The role for the men and the role for the women. Now, I do understand under certain circumstances that the women have to do certain things because, again, that's if you have a good relationship, which is based under God covenant, under God's umbrella, that he may have to be working and he can take care of certain responsibility. So therefore, the woman has to do that, which I understand because in the Jewish community, the women tend to take care of the household, at least 90% of it, even the income, while the man is studying, getting closer to God to become the man God wants him to be in order to save the entire family. So again, he's doing his duty as a man, what he's supposed to do. And the woman is doing her part to support him to meet the obligation God gave him, which is, again, the commandment God made with Adam and Eve. He's trying to fulfill that. And this is the problem. Men are not trying to fulfill the commandment that God made between him and God. You have turned your back on that contract. There's no one. You're not going to like it if you had a contract with your dealership, you had a contract with your house, a contract with your job, and they decide to go back on it. You would not be happy. Therefore, guess what? You would be sad, right? You would be sad. You'd be disgusted by it. You see it's a person or institution that has no honor or integrity to go back on a contract. So therefore, this is what man has done. They're gone back on their contract they had with God, and they're letting the women do the man's role and the man doing the women's role. It's time we wake up and we go back to our original, or at least obeying the contract that we made with God.